Welcome, everybody, to the Mission United podcast. I'm your co-host, Scott Jones, along with Sean McPhee from Mission United. And we've got a guest, Allison Bruchwalski. Did I get it right?
You did.
Bruchwalski.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't care because she's a Pittsburgh fan, so I don't care if I got it right or not.
Here we go. Here we go.
But you know what color she's wearing, folks? And it's right before the Super Bowl. What color is she wearing there, Sean? Green. She's wearing green.
If both teams
now you feel
lose,
shame, don't you?
If both of those teams could lose in this Super Bowl, though.
We will not discuss Super Bowl because you might be watching this after the game. So you're going to make it look like, how come they don't know the game's already been played? It's because we're recording it before the game. All right, I'm just letting you guys know. Please, this is the Mission United program. It's very, very important to learn about helping our veterans so that we're trying to reduce homelessness, reduce stress and trauma and all the other things that are going on, help them to reintegrate into society. And programs like Mission United really, really help. It's a part of the United Way family, which is really, really important. So while you're watching this, take a moment, hit the like button, make sure you share it with your friends, and put some comments in there. Those comments are important because when Sean and I read those, we can decide what shows we want to do in the future. Sean, we've been talking about a lot about the inner workings and the problems that veterans face.
Oh, definitely.
Anything new coming down the pike? We're into the 2025 now. Are you looking forward to any big changes coming up?
Well, a lot of, especially particular in the homeless field, since Florida passed those two laws recently that affect homelessness. So one of the things that we're doing is we're sending out a team of volunteers. We're going into and trying to get an actual census of demographics. Are they veterans? Are they not veterans? Trying to get them to tell us how they ended up in their situation, so that way we can do better with our community partners and our politicians on, okay, so how did they reach this point? Okay, so how are we going to move forward, not only to help them prevent that from happening in the future? So that's a lot of what we're trying to do is we're sending out those groups of individuals to different areas and trying to find out how can we help them. And then how can we help prevent the next group from being in their positions?
So without getting into politics and all that other stuff, because, that's always a mess, especially when you're working in nonprofits. You don't get into politics with people. But this movement to get these homeless moved out of certain areas and stuff like that, is this like not a good move for the society? I mean, again, not about politics, but on the street. Does that make it really tough on people right now?
It is definitely is one person who made a particular is that when people get into these situations, it becomes the norm for them. It's what they're used to, and then trying to get them to change out of that pattern can be an uphill battle when they're used to doing something.
Yeah.
So now the movement is, okay, so the past history is tent city. Now there's a lot of companies that we're working with and community partners who are trying to find what they call a pallet.
I've seen that.
They're basically pop-up single. They got a bed, they got whatever they need, and it's a quick pop-up. And it's easy to put together. It's very cost-effective. It's like a small little house kind of thing. That seems to be the movement, is trying to get them out of a tent situation to give them more of a home-like thing, and hopefully maybe people be more open to, unfortunately, these individuals who are living there.
And that would help people like you and even Allie. We're going to get to all the stuff she's doing, but that helps us to bring services to them because we know where they are and they're in a moment. And it's not someplace you want them to stay forever, but it gives you an opportunity to get in touch with them and find them, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is actually a lot of these places that, like they call these encampments, actually have their own political type systems. A lot of them have leaders who are like, when we go into a couple areas in Fort Lauderdale, they actually have an individual that they have basically elected as their spokesperson. That's the person we have to talk to before we go in, and they'll walk us through what it is because it's their job. They're representing the individuals in their encampment.
Wow. Now you brought Allie in. Why don't you tell us, or Allie, why don't you? Sean doesn't need to tell us. You tell us. Tell us about yourself and what you're doing here in Florida.
Yeah, so I am the Director of Business Development for Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center. And specifically to veterans, we actually have an inpatient unit specifically for veterans that qualify under the Compact Act. It's interesting, and I'll get back to all of the services that we have because we have quite a few.
Yeah.
But just because somebody's homeless does not mean that they don't have benefits available to them. And veterans are a prime example of that. A lot of people are not aware of something called the Compact Act. The Compact Act says that if a veteran served for at least 2 years, they do not have a dishonorable discharge, and they are experiencing acute suicidality, they can get potentially up to 30 days of inpatient mental health care completely free to them. They don't have to be enrolled with VA benefits. They don't have to have benefits at all. They just have to meet the Compact Act criteria, which is, again, served for at least 2 years, no dishonorable discharge. And if they're experiencing that acute suicidality, they can qualify for the Compact Act. And that's something at Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center we were noticing a lot of veterans were coming to us, but they either weren't getting identified at first as being veterans because they didn't disclose the information because it was assumed that they're not because they're homeless. When come to find out, some of the people that are homeless on the streets are veterans that qualify for these resources that are free and available to them. So we have a 10-bed inpatient unit specifically for veterans experiencing the acute suicidality.
Yeah, but you have, certainly you have an entire hospital system, which we're going to talk about the different things and the other people as well. But Sean, this is a point you make over and over again about people not having knowledge about what's available to them.
Yeah.
How are we going to change this dynamic, especially when people are out of touch? How do you get this information to them? I imagine if they show up at your doorstep and you catch the fact that there's somebody, you can help them to get where they're going. But how are we going to reach them when they're out there?
Well, that is one of the difficult things that especially even as Mission United and United Way has been trying to come over. So that's why we've had engagement teams. We're trying to go to them, and that's one of the things that we're working on this year. Not only that, is getting out there to talk to them and try to get them to understand the services that are available. Because, to be honest, like I said, as I've said before 2011, it was, hey, there you go. It wasn't until 2011 when the VAL Act went into place where there's a strict requirement as you're leaving to be told what your benefits are. But even then, that's not enough. So the only way truly is sharing that knowledge with the public, and hopefully those people will help us pass those words on to people they meet along the way.
And that's where I come into play because people don't know what they don't know. So a big part of this is educating the community and educating veterans themselves. Because like you said, Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center, we have 182 inpatient beds. We see individuals both on an involuntary and a voluntary basis. We're actually and we see ages 5 and up. For adolescents, we are one of only two Baker Act receiving facilities in the entire county of Broward for adolescents. And the numbers are dwindling for adults as well. But we also have other levels of care. We offer intensive outpatient. We have an entire outpatient clinic. The intensive outpatient is for adults, but the clinic, again, ages 5 and up. We offer ECT or electroconvulsive therapy, both on an inpatient and an outpatient level. So we're seeing a lot of people. We have over 600 admissions and discharges per month. So, and because we're a Baker Act receiving facility, we're interacting with police officers, fire and rescue. So my point is, people like myself, as the director of business development, I can help with that education piece and help to spread the knowledge because, if people don't know what they don't know, and it's not just veterans, it's really everybody.
Now, I want to, just about Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health, because I've been working with them for, 5-6 years now. Mm-hmm. And one of the misgivings people get is when you talk about things like a Baker Act facility or that we have, we had the police come in, and we've got we take different levels of care and all this stuff. And everybody thinks it's like, okay, it's kind of like a hospital. Nobody's personal. Nobody gets real treatment. It's just, but that's not the case, because I've been there, and you got a big system, but you also got fantastic people who work there, don't you?
We really do. We have almost 400 employees just there in our hospital. Our parent company, UHS, or Universal Health Services, has been around for years and has facilities all over the country. So there's not just the support of the almost 400 employees that are physically there at the hospital, but of an entire company that is nationwide. So it's pretty cool because, again, in my role, I'm not clinical, but I get to help with educating and community engagement and things like trying to end the stigma of mental health or behavioral health as a whole. Again, whether you're a veteran, or maybe you're another first responder, or maybe you're just somebody like me who has battled with things with mental health in the past. Yes, there's a lot that happens there, but there's something for everyone. And it's just a matter of knowing what the services are available to you. So
I want to address something with both of you, is that you're both coming across this now. When you're dealing with veterans, there's an extra level of stigma that goes along with mental health or addictions or any of those issues. In normal society, there's already the stigma, but it's kind of like, I'm just a regular person. But when it comes to veterans and first responders, we are in this position where we're supposed to be the heroes. We're supposed to be the strong ones. We cannot admit this weakness. Is this something that is still going on?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Has there been any moving of the needle at all, or is this a tough one still?
It's still a tough one. Matter of fact, I just had a conversation with having the VA look at my paperwork. And one of the things that I was talking to the interviewee about is that, how come I didn't say anything sooner? Is it because, as in the Navy, I'm not sure the other branch we call sucking it up. I mean, I'm the protector of the family. I'm the soldier. I can't be seen as weak. And yeah, it's a constant thing. It's like, even today, our generation is coming out of the military. Like, we don't cry. It's we have to keep whatever, and we keep the demons inside because we don't want people to know that it's a weakness. And there are a few people that there are some advances in some areas that they're starting to be a little bit more open, but it's a very difficult thing for somebody who's been a veteran to tell somebody else that I have a problem.
I'm sure, Ellie, you deal with this a lot, and your people do.
Almost daily. I've actually had a lot of these conversations recently with law enforcement specifically. We at Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center, we are trying to educate about the Baker Act in general. And we're trying to educate the first responder population in Broward County. And one thing that, the people that are involved with some of the events coming up we're talking about was, it would be really cool to have somebody's lived experience, somebody who is a first responder that would be willing to share their story. That was difficult to find, because there are first responders out there that have gotten help, and there are these great peer support systems that are happening within law enforcement and fire and rescue. But it's hard enough to get the help, let alone to then talk about it and tell people about it. But we did actually find a retired law enforcement officer who is going to share his story with a crowd of first responders. And I think that'll be an effective way to show it's okay to not be okay. And look, I came out on the other side. Lived experience is just it has a huge impact.
The sad thing is, if you can't admit it's broken, you have no opportunity to fix it.
And if you can't help yourself, you can't help somebody else.
Exactly. And, I've seen backpedals too, where somebody who's really hurting or in a bad situation, Sean, I'm sure you come across this, where they're really up against it and they need help desperately, and they finally let their guard down and ask for help. But as soon as they start to feel a little bit better, they want to back away. Does that happen too?
I've seen it from time to time.
Okay.
It's like anything else. Like you're taking medication, you're supposed to take it for 16 weeks, and 12 weeks in, you feel much better and like, but there's a reason why you should keep going.
Right.
So.
You see that too sometimes when people start to, the immediate crisis is over. Now they want to back up and say, listen, I didn't really mean that I was in trouble. I had it and I'm good. And they backpedal.
We see it every day because a couple of the beds that we have at Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center are just for detox. And sometimes people will come in there on the worst day of their life. I need help. I want help. 2-3 days go by, they start to feel better and they say, I don't want to be here anymore. And they're there voluntarily. You can't make them stay. So they leave. A week, 2 weeks later, they're back again. Same story. I really want help this time. I really do. And it goes with mental health as well. Once that, and our primary with our inpatient beds is stabilization, whether that's with detox or mental health. And sometimes it's that once somebody starts feeling better, they're ready to go back and do what they were doing. It's looking at long-term solutions, I think, that are difficult, and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel that can be difficult too. So it's tough. It's tough to watch. It is.
So how did you two start working together? I mean, did you guys, are you working together like now, currently doing some stuff? Or maybe you can give me a scenario without names, obviously, of how you were helping somebody and got them, into her purview.
Well, I mean, like her, it's like, I'm just an educator of knowledge. I have other team members and stuff. It's their job to actually work with the veteran directly to put them in the services they need.
Mission United, though, as a whole, has helped and has collaborated with Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center a lot. So when we opened this veteran-specific unit, these 10 beds, it's set up a little bit differently than the rest of the units in our hospital. And one of the things that we do is we can bring in veteran-specific resources to talk to our veterans because they can stay for up to 30 days under the Compact Act. And actually, Sean's boss, James, he helped to organize for several weeks having Mission United partners that are veteran specific come to our veterans unit to speak directly with our veterans. And that was October 1st that unit opened, and we're still working with Mission United. I actually recently joined the Veterans Advisory Council for Mission United. Good. Yeah, I have volunteered to be the chair of their recreation committee. So I think that'll give Sean and I a lot of opportunities to work together. He supports the events that the business development team has at Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center, and more from an educational community engagement type of role, because neither of us are clinical, but being clinical isn't the only way to have an impact in this field.
Do you have a specific connection to veterans yourself personally?
I do. So I'm not a veteran myself, but my very best friend from high school was in the Army and died fighting in Iraq in 2007. Sorry. It's okay. We were both 22 years old. And when you're 22, how much do you really own or have? And he had 3 possessions that he had put in his will, one of which was an iPod. And his iPod he gave to me, and I actually still to this day carry it with me.
Wow.
Everywhere I go. And so, he's my guardian angel. And so I've always wanted to work with veterans, both personally and professionally. So it's something that I've carried with me literally for a really long time.
What a way to honor somebody.
Yeah.
See, that's why we're not feeling as men, because we don't carry enough stuff with us. We don't have purses. We just got pockets. I can only like a couple of people at a time, because I can't carry that much stuff around.
Either that or I'm possibly a hoarder. I don't know. It's one of the two. I'm not sure which it is, but I keep it with me everywhere I go, and I keep his picture.
You have to start the new mission, throw it out after, so you can help with the hoarders.
I keep it all.
Actually, the way I actually got,
wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Just hold it up that way for a second. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. How it's kind of like, being in the right place, right time. How I met Allie was that a coworker of mine was attending her monthly events and said, hey, listen, and he knew that, I just come on board. I was trying to, he was like, hey, listen, I'm going to an event. Why don't you come with me? And I'm like, I went. And then he does a little bit of a different role, but he kind of left it over to me since I do the particular role of engagement community. So that's how I end up meeting Allie, and then things just.
Now he has no choice. He has to come to
now
my
we're,
events.
but now that we're also in the same circles,
Yeah.
like I said, there's, like I said, is you don't know what you don't know, and it's okay to say you're not okay. It's just, meeting with, different community partners. I mean, we work with Broward Health, we work with behavioral, Henderson Behavioral Health, and we work with, her company. So it's a great way to try to get that out there, to let know that it's okay to ask for help, and that knowing that you can call us.
Yeah.
Let us help you connect with these groups, and let's help you get better and help, along with the other services we provide.
I would imagine it's a pretty significant number of people that you deal with also have co-occurring disorders of some kind, other than just the trouble that they're in or the financial problems. That a lot of them have need of services like Allie's.
But that's really great. It's one of the things I love working for this company, and why I like Allie and her guy is not necessarily it's the people that are in it.
Yeah.
It's when you're around all these people, having met quite a few of your coworkers and toured, it's amazing the energy and passion that the people, especially when I got a chance to visit the veterans in your clinic, it was wonderful to care the people that walk around and constantly. It was just, I felt safe and comfortable that all these people, and I knew that there was no danger to me or anybody else. We're here to help these people, and you could just feel the community within the group. Yeah. And that's, the different groups are good. So it's really wonderful knowing that it's not, I'm a number. I'm not I'm just a bed, here, get out.
Yeah.
You feel that when you come in, there's a whole group of people. Okay, so we got this part. Okay, so let us connect you with the other people who can help you with the other piece, and then we'll make it all work together.
It's all about collaborating. I always say, hey, if it's not something that the hospital that I work for can help you with, let's find someone that can help you. And how do you get to know those resources and learn them? Collaborating and connecting. It's so huge in this industry, and it's important to know that everybody potentially has the opportunity to play a role in changing somebody's life, because when we expand outside of that minute or minutes of crisis that somebody's in, there are underlying issues there that may have nothing to do with the psychiatric diagnoses. It could be food insecurities. It could be homelessness. It could be this. So the bigger your network, the more collaborating that you do, in my opinion, helps you to be a better resource. And that's where it's key.
Now, just so that people, I think sometimes we went up this path of really bringing awareness to mental health, really bringing awareness to addictions, really bringing awareness to a lot of things, even violence and other things. And now that's kind of going down again. And I know it ebbs and flows as far as society. Oh, this week we're interested in manic depression. Next week we're interested in bipolar disorder. But I don't want people to lose the fact or to forget that there's still so many people out there that need help. When you're dealing with veterans, does it shock you? Do you ever sit back and scratch your head and say, how did we let this happen, that so many veterans are suffering?
Even when I was on active duty, even when I used to look into the different services, it used to blow my mind, because a lot of the bases where I was, or ships I was to serve, we used a group of us usually belonged to a community service group. And there were things that we would go down to I can't remember which duty station we went. I think it was San Diego. We went out to, there's a veteran village. We went down there, must have been like 20 of us, that we were amazed that what they don't know, and how how did we let this happen? And the fact that we have all these veterans, if it wasn't for the 30 of us, we brought everybody, construction, electrician, we were doing repairs. It should have been taken care of. We were doing electrical repair. I remember we were doing painting. I was part of the paint group where we were this place was in disarray. We couldn't believe that they would allow some of these vets allowed to degrade like this.
Yeah.
And we were totally floored by it, but I'm constantly floored to that, how we've got to this age. It's like I said, is we think before 2011, we're talking about 150,000 people leave military service every year that didn't know. They were shoved out the door. Somebody made a good, we spend 6 to 8 weeks or even months training them to do their job. But when they leave, we give them 5 days and then shove them out the door and say, hey, if thanks for being here, you're on your way. And people are like, well, what do I do from here?
Yeah.
One thing that I think is interesting too, when it comes to struggling with mental health, it's often the people that you would least expect that are dying on the inside. And my hope, and one of the reasons why I, enjoy being part of this, is I am convinced, I know that there are ways to be more proactive rather than reactive, because it's not just somebody who's sitting on the side of the street and is asking for money. It's yourself. It's the person walking down the street. It's the doctor it's the people that you don't expect it from. And it almost goes to also, veterans and first responders have a hard time, asking for help. So do people, that have other positions in life where maybe it's not cool to ask for help, or I'm too high up in authority to need something like mental health. My job is too important. Doctors don't need help with mental health. It affects,
And almost every one of them. No.
I'm telling you though, it could affect everybody. If it doesn't affect you directly, it will, or it has already affected somebody that you know. So
just in general in society, not with the veterans here, but you're dealing with every aspect of the communities
from ages 5 and up.
You know what they say. One of the old things they used to say: it affects everybody from Yale to jail. Mental health, addictions, trauma, all that stuff is running around out there, and I think we don't see it because we don't want to see it. I think that's part of it. We ignore it and think that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Or we just throw up our hands and say, they're not ready, which is a ridiculous statement in itself.
Yeah. It shouldn't take a crisis
to
start acknowledging or getting help, and that's where I hope that one day we can live in a society that is more proactive and not just, oh my gosh, there's a crisis, what do we do, and react. I'd love to see it. And that's part of reducing the stigma too, which we got a long way to go, but we're having conversations like these and that's progress. So these conversations weren't happening years and years ago. This
is very, very important, these conversations. And I was just going to ask both of you, what can other people do? The people on the outside of the issue, listen, I'm cool. I got my house in my little suburb and I got, I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac, got a nice little setup here, and I go to my job from 9 to 5, and I go home to my, average 2.5 kids, one wife and a dog, kind of thing, or one husband. And what can they do if they want to get involved in help? Is there anything they can do? Or even if it's somebody in your family and they don't want help, is there still a path for them to follow?
Absolutely. You've got to be open-minded and be educated, because like I said, it might not affect you, but it could be your son's future wife is struggling with drugs and alcohol, and you've never seen something, like you don't know what to do with somebody who's struggling with drugs. Know what the resources are. Be open-minded and see both sides of it. I think it's important for anybody to be educated on that. It's not like I said, being oblivious and pretending like something doesn't affect you isn't going to help you, because one day it could. And I always say, this might not affect me, but I want to at least know how to help if I come across somebody that this does affect. And again, I think just being open-minded is it's huge.
And they could definitely call Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health if they want information, or if they have a suspicion that somebody's in trouble. You guys are the resources where you can say, hey, listen, Bob at the next desk has a lot. Talk to Bob for a minute. You do that stuff, right?
Absolutely. And we also do, as Sean kind of alluded to before, we have these events called Coffee and Conversations. And they happen the last Tuesday of every month. We have them in the auditorium.
You used to have bacon. I wanted to tell you that.
Bacon?
There used to be bacon. And there's not bacon anymore.
There can be bacon
I got to
again.
talk to Carlos about that.
There can be bacon. But we bring resources and people from all over, not just Broward, but Dade and Palm Beach, clinical, non-clinical, and people get together, and it's an opportunity to network and meet some of the other providers that are out there, or meet some of the other resources. And I mean, essentially, it's open to anybody and everybody that would have an interest in learning about these resources or knowing more. Yeah. But you can always go to our website, fortlauderdalebehavioralhealth.com. If you click on Contact Us, the email is actually, I see every email that comes through and can direct it where it needs to go to the appropriate person. And if it's something that I can answer, I do. Or we're a 24/7 hospital. You can always call the number 954-734-2001. That's admissions. Again, it's 24/7. They can get you connected with the right people.
That's fantastic. Ask somebody. Don't just ignore things. Ask somebody. Take 5 minutes. Now, in your case, maybe you've got a spouse or children who are watching their parents go down a bad path, coming back as veterans, having issues, and the veteran will not talk to them about it. But can they still contact you to do?
Oh, certainly.
To figure out what to do.
I've had people contact me. Even so, like I said, we talk about sometimes I wonder how people get my number, but I don't really care who it is. I've had people call me and like, hey, I have so-and-so, or my dad, or my guy. It's like, well, let me help you out. Tell me exactly what's going on. And then, okay, so let me give you the people to contact from here. So, I mean, it's also what is like another thing that I do is I call them mental health checks. I actually call my old boss up from time to time, said, hey, just doing a mental health check, just make sure they're okay. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, call us for somebody else. We can't force somebody to do something, but we can at least try. We can at least try to talk to them, because people in similar groups where you grew up, whatever you have in common is very, very particular. Military people, veterans tend to, are more open to talking to other veterans. So sometimes, by telling us, hey, my dad is a veteran and blah, 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 or my mom's a veteran, hey, let's let them get to talking to one of our vets and see if maybe, or I'll talk to them and, hey, what can we, maybe they'll be more responsive to me.
Yeah.
Just ask somebody how they're doing, and don't take fine as an answer. There's no bad necessarily that can come out of being kind and asking an open-ended question to somebody. I think that kind of stuff can go a long way, and anybody can do that.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think people on the inside, they're screaming for somebody to put a hand out, but they will never say, please put your hand out. Mm-hmm. So try it. Put your hand out. Nobody's going to bite it. You might get snapped at once in a while. Somebody might be. Somebody might. But you know what? If you talk to 10 people and 9 of them tell you to go pound salt, but one of them says, yes, I want help, was it worth doing it?
Absolutely.
Of course it was. And we keep going. And if there's enough of us talking about this stuff, talking about our veterans, talking about mental health, and there's enough of us that can normalize these situations, then we can kill the stigma and we can help more people. But these are the conversations you have in your airports and at your dinner tables and in your offices when you're on a break. Talk about what's going on in the world. Don't just talk about, all the surface stuff. Let's get in there and talk about things and get rid of this. Most people know I lost my wife, but, she was never in a position where somebody was able to help her in the way she needed to be helped. And, I carry that with me, that happened. Luckily, I've got a daughter who was in the same boat, but somebody was able to be there. And now my daughter's okay. So it does make a difference. Have you had times? I mean, I can imagine. I mean, look at you. We're going to forget the Pittsburgh thing for a moment.
Well,
but you're awesome. You're awesome.
Yeah,
you're smart. You're beautiful. You can do anything you want to do. Why do you do this?
So I don't talk about it often, but I am actually in recovery myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most people don't know that. It's not something that I'm ashamed of or anything like that. It just doesn't always come up in conversation. And the reason I got into this industry, I've always done business development. And when I got sober, I decided I wanted to find purpose in what I
Yeah.
was doing. So I took my professional experience and my personal experience, and I found an opportunity to kind of combine those things. So when I say that I understand, I genuinely understand. But I also know that I am an example. And if I keep doing what I'm supposed to do, can continue to be an example of how you can come out the other side. And again, that personal lived experience is so impactful. And so it's a big part of why I do what I do, because I've not only seen struggle, I have struggled, and it's okay to not be okay, because guess what? It can get better, and it will. You got to ask for help first, though.
Well, I could tell you, having you come down to South Florida and being a part of the recovery world down here, as far as the helping arm and the mental health and all the things that you do, we appreciate that you're here. And
Thanks.
one of the conversations at these coffee clutches is, when she's off on the other side of the room, we're saying she's fantastic. So that I just want
Well,
you to know
thank
that
you.
you do a great job. And thank God we got people like you. Now, Sean, I mean, I know this wasn't your plan. When you went into the military,
No.
you weren't thinking, one day I'm going to work for Mission United, which hasn't been thought up or made yet, but one day I would. So this is not what you were thinking about doing with your life.
No.
But are you glad this is what you chose?
I've always been in a helping type personality. Even when I was a little kid, I always liked helping people. It was always a joy that if I could help anybody, whether with their homework or whatever it is, I can't think of doing anything else. I enjoy.
I got to say, hats off to your family for raising you that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I said, it's in the Jewish community called a mitzvah, doing a good mitzvah. That's my yearly, every year, every day, I try to find some way. I mean, even if I'm going into the grocery store and I see an older person with their shopping cart and they're finished with it, hey, I'll get that for you. Or a mom and a child or whatever. Hey, I'm going that way. I got you. Just if I could just, help one person every day, it's always, and I really like what I do. If I can just help one person, and I just really like the people that I've met, I can't think of me doing anything else anymore.
Sean's the best.
He really is, isn't he?
He is.
You lead with your heart, and that's so apparent.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure there's times when things are hard because you can't help somebody you really want to help.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine that when it works, that's a huge reward for you on the inside.
Oh, yeah. I mean, probably my old coworkers will tell you that when my previous job, I used to help veterans find employment. When one of them called me up and would say, hey, listen, I want to let you know I got that job. The first thing I did after I hung out was run around and high five all my coworkers, and they kept looking at me. I'm like, why? Because if it wasn't for you to greet them in the door to get them to come in, if it wasn't for you to help them with, their issues, if it wasn't for you who answered the phone when they first called on how they got here, I would have never got them anywhere. So far as I'm concerned, it was a teamwork. So they used to laugh as I used to run around and, every time I hear about a happy story, I'm like, the next thing I do is I'm high-fiving my coworkers because that's not me. I mean, it's a group effort.
But this is exactly what you need, is these kind of collaborations, partnerships, whatever you want to call it, where you can count on them and they can count on you, and you can and more places that do that, the more people we can help. A lot of people that selfishly want to keep their secret sauce to themselves, and this is how we help people. But like you said, at the coffee meetings and stuff, we're constantly sharing trade secrets. Why? Because we're trying to save lives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to save lives. So these partnerships, the partnerships I know you have with dozens, probably maybe hundreds of other businesses, court systems, all that. That's so important that you guys do that, so that when you have somebody standing in front of you, you've got unlimited resources to help that person.
Oh, yeah. Like court system, I don't remember the exact date, but we actually have with the courts that we got together, since my boss is a lawyer, is that the courts are going to allow us to, if you sign up for it, is that we're going to have their cases reviewed and determine whether or not we can get the court system to either, lower the charge or dismiss them altogether if it's something that's impacting them on day to day. They can't get to work because they lost their driver's license for whatever reason. We're trying to work with that. So yeah, anything we can do.
That's fantastic, guys. I thank you. You guys coming in, spending some time in the morning.
Thank you.
I want to remind everybody, if you want to know more about Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health and Allie, you can go to Fort Lauderdale. Lauderdale. I'm sorry.
Do that.
It was a weekend. I rented these lips and they don't work. Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health.com. It's very simple. Get on there. You can go to the contact information. If you have questions, the website's pretty comprehensive. You got a lot of information on there, but don't discount that they can't help you. They got services and upon services. We couldn't even touch them all, and we could talk all day. We wouldn't touch them all. So make sure that you reach out again, Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health.com, or go to United Way Broward.org. UnitedWayBroward.org/Mission United, and you can get directly into the program. You can go to the United Way page, Broward, and find it as well. But there's a lot of good information there, how to reach out to Sean and his people. And you're always looking for help, right?
That's always look. Anybody who's willing that needs help or wants to help. And when in doubt, if you can't remember, dial 211 and tell them that you're a vet or you want to help vets, and they'll move you on to the next spot.
Fantastic. So if you want to do something good with your time, with your life, with 2025, maybe you've decided you want to be more either philanthropic or maybe do some more time volunteering, this is the kind of organization you want to get involved with, Mission United. I'm sure if we all go back, we could find veterans in our families, people who have served, and to honor them. This is what you do, is by helping another person. It's nice to have a plaque on the wall, but it's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot nicer to look out the window and know somebody out there is living today and thriving because of something you did. So please get involved. I'm going to ask you last question now. 2025. We're just fresh into it. We're into February, just starting out. What do you want to see happen this year? I mean, if you had your magic ball, and don't do peace on earth. Miss America already took that answer. I want to know something in your field that you would like to see us at least start moving towards, or see something change this year. What would it be for you?
Well, the biggest thing for us is housing. It's not that we don't have the funding; it's the inventory. I'd like to see our communities change from not my backyard. Yeah, I'm okay for it, but just as long as it's not my backyard.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a little bit more open understanding that not every homeless person is an issue. A lot of them just ran on bad times. It's like, and be open to the fact that we need to start taking a lot of these buildings that are underutilized and turn them into housing, so that we can help get these people off the street and get them back on their feet.
Oh, that's a good wish. How about you, Allie? For this year, all the things you do, what would you like to see happen?
I would like to see lines of communication open up a little bit more between providers, between first responders. The continuum of care for individuals is extremely important. And sometimes when the lines of communication drop, or people aren't collaborating or whatnot, it directly affects the continuum of care in somebody. And that can be the matter of life or death. And I think that the way to open up lines of communication is by collaborating. So for myself personally, and for Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health Center, I want to extend open arms and let people know that the goal is to collaborate, to open up those lines of communication. It's so important, not for me, but for the individuals that come to us for help. So,
wow. I love that. For myself, similar to yours, I'd just like to see communication among family, friends, coworkers. Instead of how was your day, how about how you feeling today? How about when your kids come home from school, you sit and you talk with them and you make sure they're not being bullied, or they're not having any kind of issues with trauma or addictions or anything else. I would love to see open conversations in families about the difference between being sad and being depressed and how important that is to understand those differences. If we start at that level and then we grow up thinking it's okay to talk about feelings, it's okay to talk about feeling hurt or feeling bad, that's when the world's really going to change. It's a long way to go, and I know we're not going to get there in this year, but I'd like to see it start. And with you guys out there doing what you do, I've got hope. I've got hope that we're going to make hopefully a bigger dent this year than we've made in the past several years. So
Progress, not perfection.
progress. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for progress, and we're looking for your comments on this show. Any questions that you have, and remember, go to Fort Lauderdale Behavioral Health.com, UnitedWayBroward.org/Mission United. And you can get all the information about what these two are out there doing. You can always reach out to us here at Sober Life Studios. We're part of the One Brother, One Sister program. Go to onebrother1sister.com and check us out as we continue our mission to train first responders and veterans at no cost to them. It's all done through donations. And if you're feeling good, leave us a donation. $5, $200, every dime you send us, we're going to be training somebody with that. So we appreciate you. For Allie, let me get that. Bruchwalski.
Yeah.
That's not a D, that's a K. All right, do that again. For Allie Bruchwalski. And, of course, for Sean McPhee, I'm Scott Jones. Thanking you for joining us. Please like this show, share it with somebody else, subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves. Be kind to somebody. Bye-bye.